What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video, and I guess I'll start this video off by saying congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning for winning their second consecutive Stanley Cup. There is absolutely no denying the talent that they have on that roster. They are stacked from top to bottom. They had no business losing to the Montreal Canadiens in that series whatsoever. It would have been one hell of an upset. Just based on how the playoffs have went up to this point and how exciting and how great they've been, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't disappointed or underwhelmed by how the Stanley Cup Final went. Before I give you my raw thoughts and opinions, you guys know the drill around here. Mott's Applesauce. If you're ever hungry, thirsty, any itch you might have to satisfy, Mott's Applesauce will do that satisfying for you. And that is on the Caveman guarantee. I promise you Mott's Applesauce will never fail you. So the Tampa Bay Lightning take down the Montreal Canadiens in 5 games by a 4-1 margin in what seems like a pretty effortless victory, if I'm being honest. The Montreal Canadiens were scratching and clawing their entire way through that series. They could just not bury the biscuit. They really could not find the back of the net for their lives. They had better success throughout the playoffs, and once they got to Vasilevsky and the Tampa Bay Lightning, they could not solve the puzzle. If you've been following my fandom up to this point, you would know that I've been rooting for the Montreal Canadiens pretty damn hard ever since they swept the Winnipeg Jets in the second round. I really wanted them to complete the Cinderella story. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and it was, like I said, pretty underwhelming. The series was boring as hell. And I'm not sitting here saying that the finals were boring because the team I wanted to win lost. That is one of the reasons, obviously, but the main reason is just because it was just straight boring. Literally, it was just boring. The Canadiens could not hang in any of the games they played against the Lightning in. Besides for the game they won, which was, a very close game, they just were not in it ever. It never felt like they were actually in the game. For the first time in the Canadiens' entire run, this was the first series they actually looked like they didn't belong. And people have been saying throughout the playoffs, like, oh, they don't belong here, they don't belong here, they don't belong here. They've been disproving every single person that's been saying that. And then they get to the most important stage, and they really proved that they did not belong. Like, they just seemed to return to that regular season hockey that they were playing, which wasn't horrible, but it certainly wasn't Stanley Cup pace. They just were not able to keep up with that Tampa Bay roster. If we would have seen the Canadiens team that took down Vegas, I think the series for the Stanley Cup Final would have been much more entertaining because the Islanders took the Lightning to 7 games. It's not like they were not beatable. The Canadiens just decided to play their worst hockey at the worst time. That truthfully is just it. If they would have played that kind of hockey anytime earlier throughout the playoffs, they would have been eliminated a long time ago. Something that started throughout the Stanley Cup Final really rubbed me the wrong way, and that is Carey Price slander. People were pointing at Carey Price as if he should be taking a majority of the blame for the way that the Canadiens went out in the Stanley Cup Final. That really pissed me off. I'm a goalie, so I'm going to defend the goalies first for the most part if I feel like it's necessary. This is one of those moments. Carey Price did not deserve a majority of the blame. Like in that interview that Carey Price and Shea Weber were in right after the game, after Game 5, Shea Weber was like, you cannot blame this guy. We played horrible in front of him, and he's right. Carey Price was sitting there trying to take the blame. Sure, I'll be the first one to admit that in those first 3 games of the Stanley Cup Final, he definitely was not playing at that same elite level. But nevertheless, God forbid the guy gets some damn goal scoring. Like, is it so much to ask that they score a damn goal for him? Carey Price deserves some blame, just as everybody on the Canadiens roster does, but it just really pissed me off that people really started to point the finger at him first. Like, people were saying, like, oh, Carey Price isn't playing like he was, or Carey Price is, letting up these goals that he shouldn't. Carey Price this, Carey Price that. Why? Why are we pointing to Carey Price? Why are we not pointing to the fact that the Canadiens could not score more than 1 goal in more than 2 games? Then finally, Carey Price did steal them a game in Game 4. They won that game in overtime. He stole that game for them. Then in Game 5, he once again was attempting to do the same thing, but they got shut out 1-0. Like, you can't score 1 damn goal in an elimination game, a potential elimination game. You cannot score a single damn goal for Carey Price. You cannot score a single damn goal for yourselves. Like, people just pointed to Carey Price. It really started to rub me the wrong way. And people aren't looking at the bigger picture when they're looking at how good Carey Price actually played in comparison to Andrei Vasilevsky. I'm not going to sit here and say that Andrei Vasilevsky deserves to have any credit taken away from him because he played outstanding this entire run. I don't know what the ridiculous stat is exactly, but he has like 4 shutouts in elimination games in this playoff run alone. That is just ludicrous, right? That is off the wall. But, you cannot deny that if Carey Price was in that same position, that he probably would have done the same exact thing. And the story that is pretty simple to understand, that is just not told by the numbers that everybody sees after the game between Andrei Vasilevsky and Carey Price, is the fact that Vasilevsky's mistakes just do not matter as much as Carey Price's mistakes do. Carey Price, any mistake he made in that playoff run was going to be extremely costly. No matter what game it was, no matter who the opponent was, that mistake, if he made it, was going to be humongous in whatever game they were in. As far as Andrei Vasilevsky goes, he's able to have those mistakes here and there because his team is going to get those goals back for him. His team is good enough where they can go down and score a minute or two later, or he knows he's going to get that goal back. The margin for error that Carey Price has is nearly minuscule. The margin for error for Andrei Vasilevskiy is also very small, but it's nowhere near as small as it is for Carey Price, and everybody points to Carey Price's mistakes so much more than Andrei Vasilevskiy's mistakes simply because Andrei Vasilevskiy has more goal scoring than Carey Price. It's truly a simple concept. To represent my theory, take Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final, obviously Montreal against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It is late in the second period. Montreal is down 4-1. They cannot get a single thing going on the offensive side of the ice. Not a single damn thing. Tampa was down Montreal's throat that entire game. It was 4-1 late in the second period. The game was already looking like it was over. There was literally no hope left for Montreal, and it was only late in the second period. Like, there was literally no hope because of how bad Montreal was playing. But late in that second period, Nick Suzuki on a counterattack on what was a very harmless shot, zooms up the right wing, shoots a far pad shot at a very bad angle, mind you, at Andrei Vasilevskiy, and he just has a brain fart, and he misplays it, and it goes in the net. It goes under his pad, which is fine. You know, that happens to every single goalie in the world. My point is that if that mistake was made by Carey Price, the game is completely shifted. But for Andrei Vasilevskiy, he makes that mistake in a game that's 4-1, in a game where his team also gets that goal back. My point is that that mistake was just not as costly for Andrei Vasilevskiy. If Carey Price has a brain fart like that at any point in the playoffs, it's going to turn the game on its head. Andrei Vasilevskiy, on the other hand, it doesn't really matter. Like I mentioned, the Montreal Canadiens could not get a single damn thing going offensively. Literally nothing. And that is the kind of goal that a team needs in such scenario. Just something to get them going. Just a bad mistake by the other team that can get their offense going. Luckily for the Lightning, they, just continued to smother the Canadiens after that. But a goal like that is how you get the momentum to sort of shift back in the favor of the Canadiens. And like I said, I'm not trying to take any credit away from Andrei Vasilevskiy. He played out of his mind in these playoffs. He had a historic run, to be quite honest. He played amazing. But it is an indirect result of me trying to help people realize that Carey Price does not deserve to have the finger pointed at him for the way things ended. He truthfully does not deserve as much blame as people are seeming to give him. It's just that Carey Price's margin for error is just so much smaller than Andrei Vasilevskiy's, and it would be the same scenario if they flip-flop places, right? They're both elite goaltenders. If Andrei Vasilevskiy was in Carey Price's shoes, he would have been struggling to keep his teams in games against the Tampa Bay Lightning just like Carey Price did. He would have tried his best. It would not have worked out. The result would have been the same if Carey Price and Andrei Vasilevskiy switched places. So the Stanley Cup Final was not Carey Price's best series by any means, but for one, he was playing against the best team in hockey, and two, the team in front of him kind of collapsed right before his eyes. So I think those are two pretty valid reasons as to why, maybe he didn't play the best hockey he's played up to that point. Obviously, I think those two things are going to contribute to that. So even though the finals sucked, we got that legendary post-game interview from Nikita Kucherov after Game 5. That was amazing. If you didn't like that, I'm sorry. Just grow up. Who really cares? We need some personality in this damn sport. That post-game interview is going to go down as one of the best of all time. The dude is shirtless, drinking a Bud Light at the interview table, just talking complete shit about the Canadiens, about other teams that they played against, about other players. It was hilarious. That's going to go down in the history books as one of the best. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the finals. I really don't have much else to say about it. I mean, the finals were boring. That was my opinion, truthfully. And Carey Price was getting slander that I felt like wasn't necessary, and we got a great Nikita Kucherov interview out of it. That's about it. Let me know your thoughts on the Stanley Cup Final down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I'd appreciate that. If you want to go over to Twitter, follow me over there, I'd appreciate that as well. I'm a part of the built-in Buffalo content creation team. If you enjoy Buffalo Bills content, be sure to follow and subscribe to us on any social media that you might have, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.